A couple of weeks ago, we spoke about trophies, who's going to win. This guy just landed a big fish.
In today's episode, we break down why deals aren't won by price, but by how you sell.
We applied a completely different model, and he actually said that what stood out for us. He was really impressed by the level of detail we went to really understand their problem statement.
This episode shows what happens when you slow down discovery, align the buying group, and guide the decision, instead of rushing to a proposal.
A couple of other companies that engage with them, the other companies did a very surface level based discovery.
If you sell complex or B2B deals and want to win against stronger competitors, this is a conversation you can't avoid. Welcome to the Revenue Leaders Podcast.
So a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about trophies, who's going to win. This guy just landed a big fish. Congratulations.
Yeah,
well done.
Louis.
Thank you.
I should be happy because it's for the company, but I'm not happy because you're on top now.
Yeah.
But all right, take us through the process.
I'll get used to it. Okay, so we won a new opportunity and large mid-market sort of opportunity. And what I found really interesting after we won it was had a conversation with our champion because I wanted to understand why they chose us over the competition. So there was a couple of other companies that engaged with them through the sales process and they were doing their due diligence. And what I found really interesting is that the other companies did what we call very surface level based discovery. So their sales process was they met with them, asked a few questions, and then submitted a proposal. And we applied a completely different model. And he actually said that what stood out for us. And he was really impressed by the level of detail we went to really understand their problem statement and really understand current state and future state and how we guided him and were educating him through that process to that point of proposal. And in fact, what was really interesting, what I found out, we were the most expensive proposal that was put across the table.
Yeah, but obviously you've been able to convey value over price, right? So, talk us through. What did you do that's so special?
I know.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because when I think about this, I think it's not special. This is the standard. This is what the standard practice should be when engaging with a company. But in most cases, and we see this, we've built our business on the fact that many people don't execute a sales process so seamlessly. But what was really interesting was the lack of discovery. So again, when we talk about surface level, it was very much, they asked some very basic questions so they could provide their solution. And what he loved about working with us was we encouraged him, and we use the phrase typically when working with, and at this stage, we usually engage with other people to get a better understanding. And what he loved about that was it widened, it actually de-risked him from a decision-making process. So he felt better that his colleagues came into the conversation, right? That was a bigger heart. The others didn't do that. They only met with him, and we ended up meeting in total with over 15 stakeholders during that buying cycle.
So he didn't have to go in and sell this internally. He had internal support.
Correct.
Almost persuading or saying, let's go with this provider.
Because we mapped out. We said, hey, typically when clients like yourself are at this stage, these are sort of what the process looks like.
I like that. He took a lot of effort away from that individual, to go in and do the internal selling for us.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine even from the conversation going from one to many, how many assumptions were you able to overcome then and, the deeper amount of knowledge, right?
Oh, heaps. And you know what was really interesting? Pardon the interruption. I'm Luigi, one of the co-hosts here at Revenue Leaders. You'll notice we don't run sponsors or ads on Revenue Leaders.
This show is free. Our goal is to help you grow revenue and build your sales system that you can rely on. We do have a favour to ask though.
If this episode gives you one clear idea that you can use, do these two things. First, share it with one person, a founder, a revenue leader, or a rep who wants to grow their business. Just one. That's how the show grows.
Second, grab free access to our vault over at coachpilot.com/vault. Inside, you'll get the frameworks, templates, and short courses we use with clients to help them scale pipeline and increase win rates.
So the deal is simple. If you get value, share the episode with one person and go to coachpilot.com/vault to get the tools to put this into action. All right, let's get back to it.
there was another consulting firm that had a prior engagement, and that left a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth. And what do I mean by that?
Whose mouth?
In the client, in the company that we.
In what way?
So the engagement they had was to build more of an overarching go-to-market strategy.
Yeah.
But what happened is it became very theoretical, and there wasn't a lot of actionable or executionable components of the strategy. They spent a lot of money, and so a lot of the stakeholder group that was evaluating this was like actually quite negative. Their sentiment was negative towards us or towards.
Not because of us, it's just because of previous experience.
That was the bias they had. They were like, you know what? And so when I picked that up in the discovery stage, because he shared that earlier, I'm like, we could do one of two things here. We could ignore the fact that there's a little bit of negative sentiment, or we could hit it head on. So by encouraging our champion to invite them to a round table, and when I say round table, it was literally in the boardroom in the city. It was, I think, about 15 or 16 of them.
At least face to face, not
Face
over
to
a
face.
Zoom call.
No, we went
Amazing.
in there and very, very interesting. And you could tell, you could actually feel a little bit of the tension because there were some that were not aligned with the strategy. And I go back to the challenger model, right? The challenger model talks about seeking alignment in the buying group and asking a question to see if there's alignment and if there's misalignment. And there was misalignment, right? There were individuals that weren't aligned. But what happened during that session, because we were able to pull that up, I then became part of the internal team because they started having a little bit of a robust discussion in front of me. So I was hearing live conversation between senior executives, and then I was able to hear, acknowledge, and then offer a perspective.
Where you had your competitors not experiencing that and going off to just put pen to paper on a proposal that would have been too high level, probably too theoretical.
Yep.
And not appropriate for that organisation.
And the action, exactly. And the action from there was because we were able to interpret and we hear firsthand what some of the anxiety and concerns were, the next action was we redesigned, because we delivered a draft proposed recommendation. We then redesigned it based on their feedback and again, brought them back. And so what that did, it heard their concerns. It reduced the anxiety around those concerns, and all of a sudden they became collaborators and contributors to the final proposal. So the acceptance was high.
So if you had one takeaway for our listeners today on how to redesign that part of the process, what would it be, Louis?
First step is slow down the process. Don't rush. From meeting to proposal, it shouldn't be about, I need to close this in 2 weeks. It should never be about the close time. It should always be about, have I got a very clear understanding of the problem statement? Do I know where they've come from in the past 12 months, current state? Do I know where they're going and what does success look like for them? And have I got a clear pathway on who within the buying committee needs to be part of that process and what do they need in order to have the confidence to move forward?
This is a masterclass in you don't have to be a big incumbent.
Nope.
Like Coach Pilot itself is really fresh on the market. You know, some would say unproven and the likes, where you've gone in, where have been the most expensive, but effectively the way we have sold and our process has led to us winning that deal against others.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is one of the other providers we came up against was a much more mature business, seen with probably a different lens in market than us. But what this validated for me, it's not what you sell, it's how you sell.
100%.